Nearly 100 years ago, America fell into the worst decade it had ever seen. The banks closed, the jobs vanished, a quarter of the country was out of work, and for millions of families there was no fridge, no money, and no help coming. And yet, they didn't just survive, they lived. They fed their children, kept them warm, and kept their dignity, using nothing but old knowledge passed down from hand to hand. Today, we've forgotten almost all of it, but every single one of these tricks still works. Some of them work better than the expensive things you can buy right now. And the last one, number 1, is so simple and so genius that people are quietly bringing it back today. So sit back, let's take a walk into your grandparents' world and count down 20 forgotten Depression-era survival tricks that still work today. Picture it, the winter of 1932, a small farmhouse, a wood stove, a cellar under the floor, and a family that threw away absolutely nothing. Because when you have nothing, you learn that everything has a use. That was the secret of that whole generation, and it starts with the humblest thing in the kitchen. Before we begin, if you remember any of these, or your parents or grandparents did them, do me a favor and subscribe. This little channel is a home for the old ways, and I'd love to have you here. Now, let's count them down. Number 20, the bacon grease jar. In every Depression-era kitchen, right next to the stove, sat a little tin or jar, and into it went every last drop of fat from every meal. Bacon grease, lard, drippings, nothing was ever poured away. That jar was liquid gold. It fried the next morning's eggs, it seasoned the beans, it greased the pans, it even made soap and candles. Grandmothers guarded that jar like treasure, and here's the thing. A spoon of bacon fat still makes cornbread and greens taste better than any oil on your shelf today. We didn't lose a cooking trick. We lost a whole philosophy. Waste nothing. Number 19. Chicory in the coffee. When coffee got too expensive, and it often did, families didn't go without their morning cup. They stretched it. They roasted the root of the chicory plant, ground it up, and mixed it right in. It doubled the coffee, cost almost nothing, and gave it a deep, rich, almost chocolatey taste. It was so good that in places like New Orleans, they still drink chicory coffee on purpose 100 years later. A trick born from being poor became a delicacy. That happened again and again in this era, and it's about to happen with number 18. Number 18. Make it do or do without. There was a little rhyme every household lived by. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. A sock with a hole was never thrown away. It was darned, needle and thread, right over a wooden egg. A worn shirt collar was turned around and re-sewn. A man's old trousers became a boy's shorts, then a rag, then stuffing. Nothing reached the trash until it had lived 5 lives. We call it sustainability now and charge extra for it. They just called it Tuesday. Number 17. Newspaper. The free insulation. When you couldn't afford heat, you found warmth wherever you could. And the cheapest insulation in America was the newspaper. Families packed it into the gaps in the walls, layered it under the rugs, and on the coldest nights, they even lined their coats and stuffed their shoes with it. Paper traps air, and trapped air is warmth. Hobos riding the rails survived winter nights wrapped in nothing but yesterday's news. It's still a genuine survival trick taught today, and it cost absolutely nothing. And if you're enjoying this walk back in time, the next 4 are the ones people are most shocked they've forgotten. Number 16. The flour sack dress. Here's one that tells you everything about that generation's spirit. Flour, sugar, and animal feed all came in big cotton sacks, and mothers began sewing those sacks into clothes. Dresses, shirts, aprons, underwear. The companies noticed and did something wonderful. They started printing the sacks in beautiful colors and patterns, on purpose, so a family could dress its children in something pretty for free. Imagine that. Even in the hardest times, they found a way to make hardship beautiful. Number 15. Soap from ashes and fat. This one feels like magic, but it's just chemistry your great-grandmother knew by heart. You take the ashes from the wood stove, pour water through them, and collect the liquid. That's lye. Mix that lye with the fat you saved in that grease jar, and it turns, right in front of you, into soap. Free soap, from two things every household already threw away. No store, no plastic bottle, no chemicals you can't pronounce. People are paying good money for handmade lye soap today, and it's the exact same trick. Number 14. When cash disappeared, they bartered. With banks closed and money scarce, an entire second economy grew up with no cash at all. The man who could fix shoes fixed them for eggs. The woman who could sew traded a mended coat for a sack of potatoes. A doctor might be paid in chickens. Whole communities ran on skills and swaps and trust. It kept families fed when the dollar failed, and it's the reason a practical skill was worth more than gold. That was true then. Quietly, it's becoming true again now. Number 13. Stretching the meat. Meat was a luxury, so they made a little go a very long way. A half-pound of ground beef became a meal for 6, bulked out with beans, oats, breadcrumbs, and vegetables into a loaf or a stew. Poor man's dishes, they called them. But here's the twist. Those exact recipes are coming back today as budget meals and meal stretchers, and nutritionists will tell you a plate of beans and a little meat is healthier than a giant steak anyway. They ate better than they knew. Number 12. Drying the harvest in the sun. Long before freezers, the sun was the preservative. Apples were sliced and strung on thread across the kitchen. Tomatoes, beans, herbs and berries were laid out on screens in the summer heat until every drop of water was gone, because without water, food cannot rot. A basket of fresh apples lasts a week. Dried, those same apples last a year. It costs nothing but sunshine, and it still works on your porch this very afternoon. Number 11. A chicken in every yard. If a family could keep just a few hens, they were rich in a way money couldn't buy. Eggs every morning, meat when needed. The birds ate the kitchen scraps and the garden pests, and gave back rich manure for the soil. A little flock turned waste into food, day after day, for years. It's the single most self-reliant thing a household could do then, and it's exactly why backyard chickens are exploding in popularity again right now. Halfway there. And from here on, these are the tricks that genuinely outperform the modern stuff. Starting with the one under your sink. Number 10. Vinegar. The one bottle that did everything. In the Depression kitchen, one cheap jug of vinegar replaced a whole cabinet of products you buy today. It cleaned the windows and the floors. It cut grease. It softened the laundry. It killed weeds in the path and lifted stains from cloth. It even preserved food. One bottle, a dozen jobs, pennies each. Walk down the cleaning aisle today and you'll see 15 expensive sprays that a single jug of vinegar can still do the work of. We didn't get cleaner, we just got sold more bottles. Number 9. Curing the winter meat with salt and smoke. When a family got meat, a hog in the autumn, they had to make it last till spring with no fridge in sight, so they turned to the two oldest preservatives on earth, salt and smoke. Pack the meat in salt, or hang it in the smokehouse over a slow fire for days, and it would keep for months without spoiling. That's where country ham and real bacon come from. A skill born of survival gave us some of the most prized foods in the world, and it still works exactly as it did then. Number 8. Bread with no yeast, the sourdough pot. You couldn't always buy yeast, so the kitchen kept its own alive. A little pot of flour and water, left to catch the wild yeast in the air, would start to bubble and ferment. A sourdough starter. Feed it, and it lived for years, even generations, passed from mother to daughter. It raised the bread, day after day, for free. People treasure sourdough starters today as a hobby. For your great-grandmother, that living pot on the shelf was simply how the family got bread. Number 7. Wood ash in the garden. Nothing was wasted. Not even the ashes. Spread around the garden beds, wood ash sweetened the soil, fed the plants with potash, and, dry and gritty, laid down a barrier that soft-bodied pests like slugs would not crawl across. Free fertilizer and free pest control, straight from the bottom of the stove. If you've seen my video on the 2 metals that bugs won't cross, you already know the old-timers understood their gardens better than we do. This is another one of those secrets. Number 6. A box of sand and a winter's food. Here's one almost nobody remembers. Root vegetables, carrots, beets, turnips, parsnips, were packed into wooden boxes of dry sand or sawdust, layered so they didn't touch, and kept in a cool corner of the cellar. The sand held just enough moisture and blocked the air, and those vegetables stayed firm and fresh for months, right through the winter. A 50-cent box of sand became a refrigerator that never needed a drop of electricity. And the top 5 are the ones that turned a poor household into a self-sufficient one. Stay with me. Number 5. Catching the rain. Soft, free water fell from the sky, and no one let it go to waste. A simple barrel under the roof's edge caught the rain, gallons of it from a single storm. That water washed the clothes, watered the garden, and cleaned the porch, saving the well and the pump for drinking. Rainwater is naturally soft, so it even made the soap lather better. It's such a good idea that cities are paying people to do it again today, calling it rainwater harvesting. Grandpa just called it a barrel. Number 4. The root cellar, nature's refrigerator. Dig down into the earth, and just a few feet below the surface, the temperature holds steady and cool all year round, summer and winter alike. So families dug root cellars, a cool, dark room under the house or into a hillside, and it became the refrigerator, the freezer, and the pantry all in one, using no power at all. Apples, potatoes, jars of preserves, crocks of butter, all kept for months by the earth itself. A hole in the ground did the work we now pay an electric bill for every single month. Number 3. A summer garden, eaten in January. This was the beating heart of survival, canning. All summer the garden gave more than a family could eat, so nothing was wasted. It was sealed into glass jars. Tomatoes, green beans, peaches, jams, pickles, whole meals, boiled and sealed, so they'd keep for a year or more, with no refrigeration. A cellar shelf lined with hundreds of glowing jars was a family's insurance policy against a hungry winter. One August afternoon of work fed them in the coldest, darkest days of the year, and people are rediscovering it right now. Number 2. The spring house, cold butter with no power. Before electricity reached the farms, how do you keep milk and butter cold in July? You let the water do it. Families built a little spring house over a cool running stream, or simply stood a crock in a basin and draped a wet cloth over it, with the ends sitting in water. As the water evaporated, it pulled the heat away and chilled everything inside. The same science that cools you when you sweat. A wet cloth and a breeze kept the butter firm and the milk sweet, for free, in the heat of summer. No fridge, no power, just old wisdom. And now, number 1. The trick that's quietly coming back, how they kept eggs fresh for 8 months without a fridge. When the hens laid all their eggs in spring and summer, but laid almost none in winter, families needed a way to save that spring bounty for the cold months. And they found one that borders on genius. They took fresh, clean, unwashed eggs and lowered them into a bucket filled with a solution called water glass. A simple, cheap liquid that sealed the shell completely, locking the air out. Down in the cool cellar, those eggs stayed fresh, edible, good to cook and bake with, for 6, 8, even 9 months. No refrigeration, no power, just eggs, a bucket, and a bit of old chemistry. Think about that. 100 years ago, with none of what we have, they solved a problem we can barely solve today with a humming, electric machine. And homesteaders are bringing that exact bucket back right now, because it still works perfectly. That was the real secret of the Depression generation. Not luck, and not an easier life. They had it far harder than we do. It was knowledge. They understood the world around them, they wasted nothing, and they could make a good life out of almost nothing at all. We didn't lose that because it stopped working. We lost it because we got comfortable. But every trick you just saw is still here, still working, waiting for us to remember. So now I have to ask you, and I read every single comment on this channel. Which of these did your family do? Did your grandmother keep a grease jar, or a sourdough pot, or a cellar full of jars? Tell me your memory down below. Let's keep these old ways alive together. And if this took you back, I made a whole video on the forgotten things every farmhouse kitchen had in the 1950s. Things that have completely disappeared from our homes. It's on the screen right now. Come take another walk with me. I'll see you there.